I'm Mike Brunt. I'm at Golden Urban Permaculture Institute in Eugene, Oregon, and I'm going to we are going to show what used to be a gigantic lawn into being turned into something else, which is food. Food,
Yeah.
not lawns.
Food, not lawns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great project.
Awesome.
So what I was just saying is that this is one of the newer parts of the project. What this is lots of wood chips that we got from our next door neighbour, which I'll explain as we go around. And the principle here, the theory is that these wood chips, when it rains or when we irrigate, will absorb more of the water than if they weren't there and retain it. So it's an experiment in a way. We don't know whether it's going to work yet, but we'll find out.
Where'd you get these wood chips from?
I'll explain it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that in a discourteous way. It's quite part of this place has a magical story. So it's sort of unfolding. So I'll just relate to it here. So the man behind us, he works in landscaping, and often he cuts trees, either completely or just branches. And we made an arrangement with him that if he supplied us with hardwood, we'd grow mushrooms for him. So that's how it started, and he gave us logs, and then we said, "You have wood chips," and so he supplies us with all these materials, and we will supply him with food.
Oh, that's a great arrangement.
Yeah, I want to really expand that. Well, we all do.
Yeah.
So this is sort of got turned into something like a microgreens type thing, where we harvest salad when we want it. So it's planted quite densely here, and it doesn't grow to full size. We just use it as microgreens, like I said. Yeah, there's some beautiful stuff there. I love these. Look at this. Go on, sorry. You do. No, the mustard here. I mean, look at the colour of that. Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, this was a lawn before. What's really incredible, that bed that's nearest to the house, which is the first bed, it was already here when and I don't own the house. I'm a lodger here running the gardens. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple that own the house. They're really good people, very good people. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that, and they're called John and Bernadette. This front bed, or the one closest to the house, we didn't plant anything in it this year at all. So everything that's grown there, it just appeared. And some of it's from last year. We like tomatoes are there, which were growing last year. There's lots of sunflowers, which we think came from birds eating seeds.
So this bed just grew entirely by itself.
Yeah.
That's
There
amazing.
was nothing. And I've seen that a lot of times. What happens is you just got to let, the days of tidy gardens, and I grew up with them in England because that was a big deal, and it spread here, lawns and sculptured stuff. That's going away quite quickly, which is great, And if you just let things grow, it gets more so like this every year.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like I said, this is one of the newer parts, and we're experimenting with these wood chips. And this looks a little bit more sculptured than the rest of it, you're going to see, because it's near to the house. Hiya, John.
Hi.
This is Tara, by the way. John's the co-owner here.
Hello.
So, and we're going on a tour.
Yeah.
So, as I say, I'm repeating myself again, all this was just grass when I first came here. And there's still a lot of grass, and we will slowly but surely plant it. And we do. Our preferred method of growing is really simple. It's called sheet mulching, and what you do is you just put cardboard down and soil on top of the cardboard and then start growing. I mean, that's how it is. It's simple. So when people get, and I think that's a really important point, because when people get sort of nervous, they've got this big lawn, where am I going to start? What do I do? All they need is cardboard and soil. Mm-hmm. And maybe a bit of compost, a little bit of fertiliser, but we've never put any. This is a pure permaculture urban farm, so we've never put any sort of fertilisers or weed killers or anything here.
That's awesome. So how many years has it been that you've been here?
March 2017.
Okay.
So just over 2 years, isn't it?
Wow.
So, and there's, it's sort of early in the growing season, but there's stuff growing. There's the potatoes and there's onions there. We had an interesting thing happen, and these things keep happening, and I think for those of us that can allow things to happen, they happen. A lot of people get worried about, I want that, but I'm probably not going to get it. Well, the reality is you're probably not going to get it. You know, if you just allow.
Yeah.
That's what I found. So another thing that happened is one of the ladies who you'll meet in a minute, who's literally a world authority on soil, who's with us at the moment. She's called Charlotte Anthony. She found in Eugene these large bags of seed potatoes that had been overbought. They were surplus. So she was given 2 50-pound bags of them, and we've been planting those these last few days. So that's like 100 pounds of seed potatoes that were just given to us. Yeah. I want to show you these peas because they're quite magical. In January of this year, we were approached by a heirloom seed collection called the Roughwood Seed Collection, and these are very, very rare seeds. Sometimes you can buy them at places like Baker's Creek and so on, but most of the time, you know, it's difficult to buy them. So this is what's called a purple blossom sugar pea, and the reason for the purple blossom is these beautiful flowers here. So the peas haven't arrived yet, the pods, but you can eat the whole plant, including the root. So it's really sweet. I just had an experiment. I tried eating some. So this is part of the Roughwood Seed Collection, and we're growing different things for them. And our responsibility is to send seed back. And please tell me if I'm going on too long.
Oh, you're great. No,
right.
Continue.
So back here, this is a grape arbor, obviously, but inside there are logs, and these are the logs that the man I was telling you about, and we'll pass his property in a minute, gave us to grow mushrooms in.
Okay.
And it was an idea to put them under there because they like shade, and of course, you know, now that the leaves are back, they get a good deal of shade. And then these 2 boxes here, the one on the left, one on the right we haven't done anything with, but the one on the left has mushroom spawn in it. So we're trying that with wood chips.
Okay. What kind of mushrooms do you have growing?
So that one there is King Oyster.
King oyster.
Yeah, and in this one here we've got oyster and shiitake.
Oyster and shiitake.
Yeah. Also you'll see little bushes around and about in pots. So what we're thinking of doing is starting a small specialised nursery here, so that we can really again build upon the trading and sharing of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and it's a good spot for it. So you'll see. I'll show you some more in a minute. These are what are called service berries.
Service berries.
Yeah. So on we go. This is obviously we've got chickens, and we have 34 hens at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
No roosters, because being in town we're not allowed to have roosters. And the coop that you see was built by a friend of mine from a thought in my head. I said it'd be nice to have something that looked like a gypsy caravan. So he took him a few months, but he made it.
Mm-hmm.
And the ladies like it a lot. Oh yeah, I should talk about these things too.
Yes.
So these things here, there's a few of them around what I call hugel culture. And hugel culture precedes permaculture. It was an Austrian technique. And basically what you do is you put down wood. We had a lot of logs lying around, and then just cover it in things. You know, garden refuse, leaves, there's a lot of leaves under there. And then soil. And these things, what happens over the years, the wood rots. So it becomes part of the fertility of the soil. And these will probably last about, we'll have to amend them, but they'll probably last about 50 years, I'm thinking, before they're done.
So is this that's being watered, that's also hugelculture?
It is, yeah. That's one we just started. That's one that's got part of those 100 pounds of seed potatoes in.
Mm.
So we're all about food, you know, and this area we're in here is well, will be, but is a nascent food forest. So we've got fruit trees here. There's there's this one, I think. This has got quite a few. This is peach, I think, had a peach and nectarine, but this is 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you know, if we're going to plant trees, and I've talked to the people who work with the city about it, why not plant fruit trees? You know, why not plant all food trees? Because there's nut trees, you know. And they're just worried about liabilities and people slipping on fruit if it drops on the floor and so on, and all these unfortunate rules that have really guided us in the wrong direction, you know, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but you know, that's something that may come back again. So this here is quite magical too. So this is, I mentioned that we were growing for this seed collection, and these are tomatoes from that same collection. Again, you can't just go and buy them. You know, I mean, we will have seed at the end of the year, and I think they'll let us keep some. But you know, we're doing it because it's such an honour to be asked to do that. And this here is what's called Tulsi basil, or sorry, basil as they say here. And that's a very great form of basil. It has medicinal properties, and that's another thing that came up on its own. I did plant some here last year, and we harvested them, but we didn't do much after that. And then this one just started growing, and that's a very important plant.
Basil is a companion plant with tomatoes, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
nice. It came up here naturally.
Yeah.
It wanted to come back.
And that's why I thought I don't call them tomatoes. I'm going to put tomatoes in here because, you know, they like each other.
Yeah.
So yeah. And again, these are some more of these. I stand these next to the poo culture so they get water at the same time. And that's one thing, we're sort of going down a path here, and we're not where we should be yet with irrigation. Everything in essence should really be what's called drip irrigation, and we'll get there. But it's, you know, we're just keeping things going. I wanted to show you this tree here, which looks like it's not that vibrant, but like a place. About this one here. So south of Eugene, in a place called Yoncala, there is probably what is the most unique fruit farm in the world, and I'm not exaggerating there. It's a man called Mike Brunt and his wife, and they have so I'm told, over 4,000 different kinds of fruit trees with different varieties, and they also have over 600 varieties of grapes.
Wow.
So this is one of the trees from there, and what happened was we were asked to go a few weeks ago now and help harvest some trees which they'd lost track of what they are. They didn't know what they were. They were fruit trees. So we went down and we took out probably about 120 trees. We had a couple of big pickup trucks, and then we brought them back up here. We got some here, but the majority of them went out to a farm in Cheshire, or Cheshire as it's called here, and there's about 80 of them there, and they're all doing pretty well. We got a couple here, and this is one of them, but those are really precious, like the seeds. They're really precious because, you know, they're unique basically.
Yeah.
At least in one place.
It's a unique tree.
Yeah, it looks, like I say, it looks a little forlorn, but it's really doing well. I mean, considering that it got ripped out of the ground, you know, and transported, then was left out for a few days. And it came back, so it's really special to me. I don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be. I intend to stay around long enough to find out.
Yeah. Do you have any guesses based on the leaves? It kind of looks like maybe apple.
Yeah,
or
we think apple.
some type of apple.
Yeah, and that city has lots of different apples. Yeah.
And the top of it is chopped off. Was that for transportation or because you don't want it to get too tall?
Well, it was actually probably more for transportation, to be
Okay.
fair, but it's also a good reason to keep. I mean, we're going to keep all these fruit trees down, you know. And there's a great permaculture video, funnily enough, about a man in, I don't know where he is, in north of North America somewhere, and he has this really packed fruit orchard, but all he does is keeps the trees down to no more than 7 feet. And you know, that way you can get the fruit.
You can easily reach the fruit that way. Okay.
Yeah. So on we go a bit. This is obviously a greenhouse that we've got starts in at the moment. This garden hasn't been planted yet. There's there's onions there. That's from last year, but we've still got a lot of planting to do. Different plants. This is I believe this is what's called a nanny berry. And these are aronia berries. And those are an incredibly beneficial medicinal again. And they're doing. I mean, they've only been in those pots probably about 6 weeks, and they were little sticks when we got them. You know.
It's pretty fast growth.
Yes.
What kind of soil do you have them in?
That's native soil from here. We just dug some soil up and used that because we're certainly going to plant some of them here, and we thought it was good for them to be in the same soil that they're going to be in. You know.
Yeah.
That whole thing is a very interesting sort of paradox. You know, bringing in soil or digging up soil, particularly digging up soil on a big scale, is not a good thing. And Charlotte, who we'll meet, I think, somewhere, she's when I said she's world renowned, she's been all over the world, and she does things with soil and what's called mycorrhizals, and inoculating soil with that to improve it.
Yeah. To liven it up. Is she also building soil here?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would be an intention of hers. In some ways she is, but I've not seen, I haven't asked her that. So this is probably one of my favourite plants for food, which is fava beans.
Oh, those are looking good.
Yeah, we've got a nice little bug on there too. Yeah, so that's one seed, each of these. The brilliance of fava beans is one seed gives us all that, and there'll be more, but they grow straight up, so they don't take a lot of area, spatial area. They just so that you can plant a lot. And when we end up at the older gardens, the first gardens, you'll see that. So these we plant every year, and these are raspberries here. These were gifted to us from somebody who wanted to plant something different in the garden. So we went and dug them up, hoping that they'd survive, and they did.
I love how densely planted the food is. It really is a great use of space. There's little pathways that you can walk down, but just layers and layers of food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because why would we not do it? I read a really tragic thing this morning. It upsets me to talk about it. Where in Yemen in the last year, there's 85 or 87,000 children starved to death. It's because of a war,
Yeah.
But the thing is, we should be growing food everywhere. People don't need to be starving to death. Anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And these are pullets that were chicked when we got them. So these should be all hens, and they'll eventually go in into the big chicken yard there. The other thing I should have said about that, we do use the soil in there. The chickens have full range on that, and they're scratching all the time and etc. So we use that to amend the soil. That's fertilised soil basically. But it's from the chickens, not from. And then you can see these piles of wood, logs. Sorry, I shouldn't warn you about that. The wood chips and the logs and so on, and that's coming from this gentleman back here. Who's the one I was telling you about, that we're trading food for logs.
Yeah.
So we're sort of around the back of the house now. This is going to be, it's a coming together community kitchen.
Community kitchen.
Yeah, we're hoping that by winter we'll have some sort of shelter here. But yeah, I mean that's its purpose in life. And typically we have, when we have permaculture meetups here, we usually congregate around this area, because to me food is an incredibly powerful community thing, to bring people together for
Yeah.
food. So, and a lot of this wood that you see around here, these little features like this, they all came from the man back there,
Very cool.
Yeah, we had a young man here from Wisconsin who'll probably come back. He did a lot of that woodwork. And John, the owner, too. Oh yeah, that's Cheshire the cat.
Cheshire the cat. Cats are a helpful thing to have around a permaculture site because they help with the rodents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's great at that too. But luckily, she got past the era of bringing them to the back door a while ago. What she catches, I'm talking.
Yeah, it's really nice when they will just eat it, and then it's a closed loop system where they're feeding themselves.
Yeah, and the ground after that, the soil.
Yeah.
So these are some of I use this to transport starts. So these are some starts I brought out here this morning that I'm going to plant in this next garden I'll show you.
And you transport starts all over in Eugene, wherever they need to go, by bicycle.
I love my bike, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I made a conscious decision years ago not to drive anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to do as well as I can around that, and it was an ecological decision, because I didn't want to keep polluting the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great for my health too, because I walk a lot, I ride a lot.
Yeah.
And health is an important thing. There's a huge deal there. So this is the latest garden project, which you probably saw on Facebook, I'm guessing.
Yes, this mandala. This is beautiful.
Yeah. And we're just beginning to plant it, and this will be largely speaking, you know, the things that like each other again, particularly tomatoes and basil, but we'll also be putting, I happen to like hot peppers. And last year we managed to grow ghost chilies here and habanero, so I'll be growing some more of those this year. And that's another part of, for me, the importance of food is we do a lot of preservation, you know, so we'll make a lot of things out of things that we grow here, like salsas and hot sauces and jams and all that sort of stuff. So what we're heading towards now is what were the original gardens, is another thing there. This is a bit of an experiment here. This is largely speaking an herb, various herbs in here. It's fairly new, so you don't see much, but stuff is starting to come up. And it's an experiment because we want to see what effect shade will have on this sort of stuff, you know. So this is where stuff starts to get really vibrant.
This is looking a bit like a forest, like a jungle.
Yeah, well, it is a bit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we do. I mean, we do save seed, and that's a big deal for us. But we also let things go to seed too, because, again, you know, right to the end, they're pretty much still edible. You know, and in the middle of there, we've got a really interesting plant, which is a tree collard. I don't know whether you've heard of those.
A tree collard? No.
I don't want you to get your camera wet.
It's kind of wet, but we can get a little closer.
Yeah, it's basically a tree collard. Is a perennial collard, because collards theoretically are collards are theoretically annuals. So I'll try and see if I can. The way you can tell, it's hard to see it from here. But over that side there, there's plants got very green. Well, they're all green stems, but like a light green, and that's a tree collard. But it's an unusual plant because all we did to propagate it is take one cutting off a very, you know, well-known tree collard in this city, and we got 3 from it, and one of them's here. But eventually that'll get to about 6 or 7 feet tall, and it'll be covered in leaves. So, you know, food again.
Yeah. And I can smell this thyme right now.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
The water, yeah.
Over there, that's sage. Look at the flowers on that.
Beautiful.
So not only do we get, that's another misnomer, isn't it, that vegetables are ugly, you know?
Yeah, vegetables are beautiful.
They're beautiful, yeah. That one behind you, I'll just show you this, because the other one, there's some more over there, but this is, I mean, you can see the size of that. This is kale. You can see the size of that leaf. And this is a young man from Eugene, in actual fact, who hybridised some seeds, and I think there were 3 different plants. I know one was a purple tree collard, and you know, this is the first year it's been grown really outside of experiments, so it's done really well. We've had loads of food from that. Yeah, hopefully it's not wetting here, but again, you know, there's lots of grass here. One thing I learned, which I had no idea about, is chickens love grass.
Chickens love grass.
Yeah, so I just take handfuls of grass down for them.
Nice.
What was in here, well, what is in here, which again, these are planted right at the beginning. These are potatoes. Those are pretty much getting ready to eat because there's flowers on them. But, you know, again, we just left this. I mean, it looks, to a lot of people, this looks like chaos. But pretty much all of it, for some form of life or other's food.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should have mentioned that. We have bees here down there, so that's another reason we let a lot of these go to seed, because you get flowers on them, and it's good for pollinators, you know, which is key for us.
Yeah, it only makes sense to allow things to go to seed so that we can continue to eat every year.
Exactly.
And this chaos is really beautiful nature doing its thing if we can just let it happen.
Yeah, totally. You said a really good thing before when you say it looks like a forest. Because what tends to happen with a lot of people, me too, I mean, we should never have what we've got here, we should never have. This is bare soil.
Bare soil, yeah.
And that's because somebody who was looking after it brought some soil in, but we should never have bare soil.
Yeah.
It's always better for something to be growing in it. You know, and and we're in the middle of reconstructing some of these beds. that's, you know, what was charred. This is the main thing of fava beans we have, and you get an idea how close you can plant them together and they still survive, you know. And you can eat, the thing about fava beans is you can eat the leaves too.
Oh, I've not eaten the leaves.
They're really good. They taste just like the bean.
Mm-hmm.
They're great in salads and, you know, whatever you're cooking.
Raw or cooked?
Yeah, raw cooked. But what I did with them, because I found this online, I didn't invent it, I made pesto from them.
Wow.
And that was really good.
Delicious.
And everybody I gave it to was, you know, enjoyed it. So this, another sort of figure, this place is 0.8 of an acre in size.
0.8
And
of an acre.
Yeah, and we've probably planted about 40-50% of it. So there's a lot more that can be done. You know, so there's things we're getting better at, like I didn't really mention. We passed a couple of water tanks over there, and there's one on that side of the house. Yeah, they're sort
Water
of obscured.
tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal to capture rainwater, particularly here, in places like here.
Yeah, we do get a lot of rain here.
Yeah, yeah,
so
in a typical
that's
year.
very important and appreciated that you're collecting that rain. And growing so much food, just 0.8 of an acre that you have only planted 40 or 50% of, there's so much food already.
And a lot, you know, there's a lot more that'll happen here, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and every year, as I say, it gets better because things propagate themselves and, you know. Yeah, I mean, you get to a stage, you can easily get to a stage where you don't need to plant anything. But I'll just emphasise this too, we're making a big deal about saving seed. We've sort of got better at that every year, and we'll get better at it again this year. And my goal, which I want to get going this year, is to have a seed library in Eugene, because we don't have one. And you know, I reached out to some people and they said, yeah, we'd be happy to see that, you know. So hopefully, maybe by later in the year, we'll have a seed library going.
That's awesome. That's a great thing to look forward to. Here comes the kitty. Looks like we're back around at the begining again.
Yeah,
so
we are
That's
basically.
the property. All right, well, I'm going to shut this off.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the tour.
Yeah, of course. It's a privilege for me to do that.
Yeah, thank you.